was so depressed, and I went and got the Bible, and I turned to the book of Revelation. And if people would just get and read the Bible and read the book of Revelations, they would really turn around and straighten up. This is all we need to do, is just get the good book and read it and put it to everyday life.
Sisters, niggas, whiteys, Jews, crackers. Don't worry. If there's hell below, we're all gonna go.
A very traditional concern expressed by Curtis Mayfield. The nature of the summertime breakdown, right? Can't help but notice as the tides come in harder, as tides come in harder. Right? Mul.Al.Lul is a turtle, but Sartan is a crab. The scarab is a scarab in the dry desert, rolling the sun out as they all do. They are not the sun. Apparently the moon rules over Cancer. And according to this system, May Saschar, Reuven, the first son of Jacob, is implicated, the first of the brothers. And the one who most can't pull anything together. His name's Reuven, because his mom sees that his son is there. And they say the fixing of this month, according to the Sefer Yetzirah, according to the version that B'nai Saschar, my favorite Astro Rebbe, suggests. He is a tradition. Bo yiva'ar tzirufei shemot chadashim mozlehem. This is B'nai Saschar. Their aboots. The mix, the twist, the fusion, the order of the four-letter name of God. For the month of Tammuz, which has started and hits its apex 2 days, it's like the peak of the full moon, and Thursday is a big drop. Thursday, traditionally by the Jews, is when the tablets are smashed, and when so much starts to seem like it can't work out. The order, the 4-letter month has a 4-letter order of the 4-letter name, right? 3 times 4 is just 12, and there's just 12 orders of the 4-letter name. Yud Hey, Wow and Hey. And the one for this month is backwards fully, like a crab turned on his head, rolled on its back, and flipping around still. The order is Hey Vav, Hey Yud. Comes out from the line, from the Pasuk, and all this, and all this. The line from Esther, chapter 5, line 30. And all this. We're all this. Einoino Shoveli. Just doesn't mean anything to me, is the thing Haman says as he leaves the king's court. Remember in this book of Esther, Haman leaves the king's court, everything's going really well for him, and he's talking about how good everything's going for him, and how just well set up he is, and how invited he is to this wonderful party that's just him and the queen and the king. Kol zeh einenu shove li. But all this doesn't mean anything to me. Kol zeh einenu shove li. And all this doesn't mean anything to me. And this is the moment where Haman's flag just drops and things go downhill for him. Hey vav hey yud hakol zeh einenu shove li is how the words end. Zeh einenu shove li. The letters end. Hey vav hey yud. It's one of the secret tetragrammatons in the book of Esther. Everybody knows. The tetragrammaton is just scattered through the book of Esther. This is the main famous one because it's associated with the whole month. The drop that is the essence of the Cancer experience. The Wikipedia page about Cancer as like a star sign says the Greeks sort of looked down on it, made it like by the Nemean crab, by the Hercules story. It's just this little thing. But the truth is all the constellations are very little in that Hercules story, even the lion. And in many ways, the crab is the most blessed, right? It's sent by Hera, who is the moon in some kind of way, amongst other things. You could say there's also Aphrodite aspects to Hera, but no, more allied is she with the original cosmic schism of father and mother, which is very strongly identified in all of our experience casually, in all of our sort of deep abiding development with the sun and the moon, the marriage of the sun and the moon. The entire month is associated with planets, but only 2 months out of the 12 are associated with the sun and the moon, right? The rest are all given to one of the 5 stars. But the moon is very big. And the thing about this month and next month that has this guy put them basically in this context of each other, and only in the context of each other, as opposed to the last month, which was theoretically twins, and as opposed to Elul, which is theoretically, bound up in Tishrei. He makes a connection between these two even stronger, because there is this 3 weeks of mourning and concern that is the work in between. And as we discussed in part 1 of this whole thing, the 2 brothers are the beginning of the problem. A lot of the story in the Bible is about the beginning of the problem between 2 brothers. It's a recurring theme because inequality is the fundamental experience of creation. It's the fundamental degree of offense. That is the original criticism of the serpent that's cast down to the highest heavens is, hey, it's not fair. And similarly, it is the original consideration and criticism of the moon traditionally. Like, you guys know the story? Traditionally, the moon comes before God and says, hey, you can't have one king with 2 crowns, 2 kings with 1 crown. One of us has to be bigger than you. Talking as if about the sun. And the sun says, or Kodesh says, okay, fine, make yourself smaller. And this is the beginning of the inequality in the original moments of creation, where in the original moment of creation, the sun and the moon are very much exactly the same. And one is identified with the creator, and one is identified with the created, somehow reflected, but somehow whole and entire. Apparently, Sammy Davis Jr. once told Eddie Murphy, the devil is as strong as God, baby. And that may have been true for even a second. It's a little unclear how the inversion worked, in terms of the thing that was so fundamentally unfair about the original imbalance and inequality embedded in creation. And the work that's been done ever since to try to make it as right as possible is the work of so much of the interactive family interaction and dynamic. But part of the issue that's described in between the aspects of the 12 tribes as the 12 months is so much the problem of people, which is how we see and how we hear. This is the general apocalyptic failure of Reuben, the first son of Jacob traditionally. He didn't really see very well what was a good idea, you know. His mother blesses and thanks and names him in light of finally seeing something happen. But he himself can't quite get it right ever. Can't save Joseph from being sold, but can't quite take responsibility for the whole thing. Simon, who's associated with Leo, really does seem to take a lot of responsibility for the whole things that he does. Although the things he does are mostly unspeakably terrible. Are just massacre a village for an honor thing, marry his sister in the context of that honor thing, and presumably sell Joseph. Maybe as an alternative to killing him, but certainly as an alternative to trusting him. And Simon's brother, who he conspires with, Levi, is sublimated into the priesthood of Israel. But he himself is identified with all the wrath, which is very consistent with the Leo context and the Leo model. Not every system has Simon as Leo. Some have Judah. He's also very Leo identified. And this is why context is so important. So part of what I like about the Bnei Yissaschar is that he sources a lot of other older traditions in Kabbalah that he just looked up and spent time with a good heart of a sense of all the sort of accomplishments in Torah that are part of the entire Hasidic narrative and dynasty. He has so much, and I've been looking at it for days to get a sense of what is going to help us understand how to relate to the problem of the world better, which is the problem of that which was realized in the springtime being so visible. That which is somehow able to grow and come up in the beginning of springtime just being so visible. And the challenge of seeing it nicely. Traditionally, the exiting of the spies to go and look at the land of Israel happened then, and the whole challenge and problem was their eyes, traditionally. But I hate saying things. I'd rather say it in the name of other people. It just makes me feel better about it. That way, you know. Kiss my There's a part of cognition that's associated with seeing, and that's thinking. And there's a part associated with hearing, which is the heart and the Divine Mother. Simon classically is very defensive of the Divine Mother, but Reuben, this is part of the promise of the time, it's there also. The crab saves everything. לדעת רב אליעזר במניין שמות העולם הנה לדעתו כאחד לחודש אב נראו ראשי הרים בשנת המבול. The end of Cancer, the beginning of Leo, traditionally, is when the top of the mountains was visible in the times of the flood. And this is where the fixing for the destroyed world starts. Because part of the struggle of the crab, of the turtle, of the scarab, in the waves, in the wind, in the dust, is just to get knocked over. Is just to get a little whelmed by engagement of the living waves, which are the world's expression of the moon, traditionally. Traditionally, the will to rock against the water is also the romantic height of the reflecting, engaging, falling and not falling, in the aspect of tzaddik, falling and not falling, in the aspect of yesod, which some people like to associate with the moon, the base of things, the place where it's felt. There's something to that. The Das Rav Yisrael ben Yashbo Shalom Alam, that Tom Echad L'Chodesh Av, Niru She'arim B'Shnat HaMabul, V'Chil Tikun L'Olam Acheru, and the beginning of the fixing for the destroyed world starts. But the impact of the sense of destruction starts to peak, like this weekend. The traditional sensitivity around, let's say, the moment where the heat breaks, days have stopped getting longer, but the heat is still coming in, and a sense of the things that just aren't going to work out starts to come through. This is the original story of Tammuz and Tamuzi and Adonis, who just, the whole thing seems like it's going to be possible forever, and then suddenly, you know the story? There's two lovers, Tamuzi and Ishtar, Tammuz and Astarte, Adonis and Venus, Osiris and Isis. There's two lovers. She is the whole goddess, he is the whole god. They've defeated the great serpent. They've gotten the world together. And something goes wrong. Just some kind of cosmic hunters come out of nowhere, just take one of them. Originally, so the tradition is that it was her first, her sacrifice, the moon, the great divine moon mother. And in exchange for the return, she returns to the world and pulls down the ruling king. And then there's a sort of inversionary cycle in all of the world and all of time between hot and cold. And this is part of what makes so much space for the world. This is part of also what slows down the world. According to Rav Eliezer, which I think is Eliezer of Worms, who's one of my favorite sort of sacred spiritists, Taskil v'teda, figure and know. Hashvira b'malchin kadmin hi b'chinat einayim. The fundamental breakdown in the ancient kings, in the original kings, in the original kings, in the original kings, in the ancient kings, the fundamental breakdown, b'malchin kadmin hi b'chinat einayim, is in the aspect of the eyes. B'chinat ozen yesh tikun v'chiyut b'sod hakatuv. But for the ears, for the aspect of the ears, it's already resolved. There is a cure, there is a fixing, and life in the secret of what it says in Isaiah, Shemu v'techi nafsham, hear and live your souls. Hear and live. Shemu v'techi nafsham, hear and live your souls. Al ken b'chad l'chodesh asher, hu b'chinat shmiya, k'mo shkatavti b'ayom, hawen nikun b'chinat riyah, al ken boni u'shtarim. And so, on the first of the month, that is the aspect of hearing, like we said before, is activated, mithaveh, is made, is realized, mithaveh, is isified, is manifest, mithaveh, tikkun b'bchinat riyah, the fixing in the aspect of seeing, and through this, you can see the tops of the mountains, the tops of the mountains, the tops of the mountains that signify a better world built on top of the broken one. You can start to see it. The budget didn't quite pass in New York City, but you can start to see what does need to happen, right? You can start to see already the tops of the mountain. Hamaskil Yavi, may the enlightened understand what it is to see the tops of the mountain and the already happening better world built on all the destruction and failure in the aspect of the sun.